25 greatest American bands, the definitive list. Okay, so there have been videos on 10, 12, 15, 20, 25. It's however many you want to go. But I did think this was a cool thought to do. I believe Glenn Kellaway started it. I've watched a few of these. And I made a list of a whole bunch of bands, and for 5-6 days I've been staring at it, trying to figure this thing out. And I finally said, screw it. I'm just going to show you what I have, and there it is. Okay. A lot of this depends on, to me, when you were born, when you began listening to music, to what you feel as the most important bands out there. These are the 25 that I feel are most important. Some of them I really don't listen to that much, but they did something important, and they're an important part of music, so I put them in. I did have a few also almost had that I really won't talk about. Cheap Trick, extremely important when it comes to power pop. Chicago should be considered. Their first 6 albums. The first 4 albums were incredibly good. I love their first 6. Talk about something fantastic. Luna, this is just a personal pick because I think it's one of the greatest bands ever. Great dream pop. And, of course, War is a favorite, but didn't quite make it. So, there we go. Those didn't quite make it. So, number 25. Booker T and the MGs. They put out some great singles. I mean, Green Onion, but just think about Stax Records. Booker T and the MGs. And yeah, that's his first name. But the thing is, it wasn't Booker T. This was a band. You know, Donald Duck Dunn, Steve Crawford. I mean, this was a band. And they made some of the greatest music ever, especially in the 60s. As Stax Records house band, but also put out their own stuff. Phenomenal group. Booker T and the MGs, number 25. Number 24, White Stripes. You talk about 2 people that can make a lot of noise, 2 people that could just pound. Every stadium in the world plays 7-man army. Everybody does it. They made some great singles and some great albums while they were together. And just 2 people. Really phenomenal. And they kept changing. They kept changing the music, making it different. White Stripes, number 24. Could be higher. Probably should be higher. Number 23, Aerosmith. This is my introduction to Aerosmith. This is when I learned about Aerosmith. I did buy their other albums. Yeah, they got a little loopy. They got a little crazy later on, especially after this album. And things went downhill, but they figured it out, and they came back in the 90s. One of the greatest comeback stories in the world. Kind of like the Lions' comeback story against the Houston Texans. One of the greatest comebacks ever in football. Well, that was with these guys in rock and roll. So Aerosmith gets number 23. We're moving, folks, because for once, I'm not going to go over a half hour. Van Halen, that would be number 22. Yeah, you know, guitars, right? Guitars. I did like David Lee Roth. I saw these guys, I believe, in concert. It was probably 1980, 81. And it was a phenomenal show. It was a great show. It wasn't packed. It was in Omaha. And there are still seats available. The guy next to me puked on himself. Don't know who he was, but he was out of it. But what a great album. I do like David Lee Roth over Sammy Hagar, and so that's the stuff I like best. And yeah, number 22. 21, Beasty Boys. Let's just use this album as why Beastie Boys should be in it. This is one of the funkiest, grooviest albums made. The beats on this, and they're playing their own instruments, is incredible. Sabotage alone, that song puts them into the Hall of Fame. Great stuff. But they really helped bring, they brought rap to the white masses, honestly. And they kept expanding their music. They kept making new things. They kept stretching it. 21. That brings us to number 20. Not a really big fan of the group, actually. Beach Boys. but they were important. Pet Sounds important. I mean, everyone shows Pet Sounds, right? I'll just show this. This is their greatest hits of all that 60s before Pet Sounds, surf music. And with the harmonies, the close harmonies, and Brian Wilson, flawed genius, let's say that. I mean, not many people, they'll put a sandpit into their house. That's kind of cool he did that. But they did make a lot of great music, and it would behoove me not to put them in the list. They should be there, even though it's not a band I really listen to. So that was number 20. Number 19, Green Day. Brought pop punk back. This album, American Idiot, is such a masterpiece to me, a political masterpiece. They had a statement. They weren't happy with Bush. They weren't happy with what's going on. They had something to say, and they said it on here. It's like they're Tommy, but to me even better. I just, it's phenomenal. It worked together. It all came together. But this was a group that was just kind of a bunch of snotty kids having fun, and they got serious. They got real serious, and they keep making great music. Number 19, Green Day. Number 18, Parliament Funkadelic. It could have been up there higher, but it you know, what are you going to do? Love Parliament. Parliament was by far my first group I got into before Funkadelic. My first Funkadelic was Uncle Jam Wants You. Uncle Jam wants you to funk with him. Yeah, the best lyrics in the whole wide world. I mean, it's amazing what you can use the word funk for. So, this is actually my favorite. Funkadelic versus the Placebo System. Favorite Parliament album. Great stuff at number 18, which would bring us to number 17 for those counting at home, Pearl Jam. Another group, a lot of angst, a lot of anger, a lot of things to say, a lot of music that has been put out by them. These guys have been prolific, but they have wrote fantastic stuff. Eddie Vedder's vocals, they're full of pain, suffering, howling, but he has something important to say, and definitely one of our greatest American bands. 17. Number 16, Cramps. Personally, I could put this like number 1 or number 2 or number 3. I absolutely love the group, but I'm not going to do that. This is one of my all-time favorite groups. They made, they took rockabilly and they made it into something of their own, you know? I mean, horrorbilly. Then they went to sexbilly, but a fun group. I wish I'd seen these guys in concert. It would have been phenomenal. And Lux Interior, no one can wear high heels better than Lux Interior. That man, as tall as he was, really could walk well in high heels. That's worth it just in itself. So number 16, the Cramps, because they're just freaking awesome. Brings us to number 15, the Replacements. There's my original on there. Flood crap, you know. Great album, Tim. Replacements, again, started off as just a snotty punk band making great songs like Johnny Has a Boner, Pissing on Myself, stuff like that. But they got better and better. They were so sloppy and they were drunk on all their concerts. But they began getting over that. And Westerberg began writing better and better songs. The music slowed down, and slowed down as he tried to make stuff that was more important, okay? And it just, you know, you could see the teenagers, you know, disappearing as we were trying to be a lot more serious. Number 15, Pixies. My first Pixies album I ever bought was Doolittle. It kind of just blew me away when I got it. Go, wow, this thing is so good. There's so much good stuff on here. I loved the Pixies through the 80s and into the early 90s. I have listened to some of their other stuff. I never really got into Black Francis. But I'm telling you that early stuff, you know, Doolittle, Cervarosa, Troop de Monde, All of those albums, incredible stuff. Bossa Nova, fun stuff. Again, a group, fantastic harmonies, but they just did interesting things. Their songs were just out there. Exciting music, which is always exciting to have. Brings us to number 14. I'm hoping I get this right because you know what? I didn't write any of these down, and I should have, but I didn't, so we're just going to guess. 14, Husker Du. Husker Du made a lot of noise. This was one noisy group. They took those instruments. It's a three-piece, and what White Stripes did with 2, they did twice as loud a volume with 3. But underneath all that noise was incredible songwriting, incredible harmonies. They had a knack for understanding, 60s pop-type melodies, and they buried it underneath this noise. I mean, Bob Mould went on. I mean, Sugar could easily have been in this list for me. He was such a great group. But then I did 2 albums. But still, Husker Du made some of the greatest stuff out there. The power, the excitement from Minneapolis, the same time as the Replacements out of Minneapolis. That was one cool place. Prince was going on. Wow. So number 14. Brings us to number 13. We're talking about noise. Well, then, who knows better about noise than Sonic Youth and Daydream Nation? This thing came out and I bought it. I read something in Rolling Stones, and I didn't know anything about Sonic Youth, so I went out and I went to my store and I bought Daydream Nation. And I put it home and I go, oh, well, this is different. And it was. It was just so different. There was just their experimentation with noise. And this was one of their more commercial ones. And they got more commercial as they went, and actually Goo is my favorite of all the Sonic Youth, but this one's considered one of their masterpieces. And it is. There is a lot of noise, but it's interesting, it's fun, well worth looking into. Sonic Youth, what a great group. Number 12, the Ramones. I'm not a huge Ramones fan. I love punk. Punk's everything. Ramones was a big part of punk. My problem with the Ramones is a lot of the songs sound the same. 1, 2, 3, go. And I never saw this huge progression within the music with them. They had their sound, like AC/DC, they have their sound. People loved it. People worshipped it. People thought they were great. Nothing wrong with that. I just like to see progression and a difference in music as long as you don't go into power ballads. Then screw it. But Ramones, still, when you think of greatest bands, extremely important what they did, the music they made, and what happened after them, and the way they dressed. I mean, my God, everyone went that way. Bunch of crazy kids, huh? The Ramones, number 12. Actually, I think the Ramones were number 11. I already said 12. 11, okay? See, messing up. So, what does that do? That brings us to the top 10. Number 10, Santana. Their greatest hits was one of the very first albums I ever bought through Columbia Record Club. Knew nothing of Santana. I just saw when I had my Columbia Record Club buy 13 albums. If it had greatest hits, I bought it. Santana was one of them. And I was introduced to Latin rhythms. And it was incredible. I just, oh man, this is great. I mean, and I kept playing that thing. I played it so much. This album is an absolute masterpiece. Sounds so phenomenal. I mean, now it's out there in MoFi, probably well worth getting, but this half-speed master takes care of it for me. But yeah, Latin rhythms in rock. And their first 5 albums, I think, are the best. After that, I really lost interest in them. Okay, just honesty. But those first 5 is like incredible. Makes you want to get up, dance, wants to make you shake your booty. Great stuff. Number 10, which goes to number 9, more Latin. Here, though, we have Latino. A lot of that music, Los Lobos. This introduced me more to Mexican type music with the accordions, with the guitar playing. When this thing came out, I bought it, and it just opened my eyes. This was like a whole new world of music coming. And their 80s albums, they're into the 90s, were just fantastic. They're still putting out important, great music. They're a whole lot older now, but I mean, what they put out on here, I mean, in just one, this album below, Shakin' Shakin' Shakes, One Time at Night, what I really liked is they went into traditional Mexican music and they played that. And it's, again, it opens up a whole new world, and it was so exciting. And I fell in love with this group and just the music that they made. That was number 9. Number 8, Drive-By Truckers. It is such an important group because, again, this is a group with something to say. And I like that about it. And so there's a lot of groups, maybe I could take about the 60s, but I look at now what as I've gotten older, what they're talking about that really means something to me. And this is one of them. This is one of the greatest albums to me ever made. It's called American Flag. No, it's American Band, Jesus. But we're talking about American bands, right? So we're right on point with this thing. They looked at everything from mass killings to what we're doing, environment. This was such a powerful album. But all their albums, they've been putting out albums since the 90s, and they deal basically with Southern culture, but they tell stories, and they tell phenomenal stories. They tell stories that have a point, that have importance, that should be listened to. They make music that's important, and this album to me is a masterpiece. To this day, I listen to it, and it brings tears to my eyes. Some of the songs, the power of them is just incredible. Number 7. Number 6, Political Statements. Number 6, greatest American band, Public Enemy. This, again, is a group that had a lot to say, and there was anger. But they took rap too, and they made rap. They showed what can be done with rap. They showed how much sound can you make, how much noise can you make, how much can you have going on. And they did all that, but they had so much stuff to say. And again, one of those with my originals. And it was exciting. It was just like blowing you away. Here we are. You listen to us because we're pissed about this. And here's what we have. And I appreciate that from them. And they just, the music was incredible. Their beats were incredible. It was super catchy. And how many people can go around and wear a big ass clock and look cool? Only Flavor Flav can. Everyone else looks stupid. Number 6, REM. When this album came out, I bought it at the record store. I just saw it. Oh, what's REM? Let's go buy this. And I became an REM fan. It was just amazing. And I bought everything that they bought, that they made from then on. Obviously became CDs when CDs came out, but I bought every one of their albums because it was a band. And they're out singing about important things. They sang about issues, but they had the chiming guitars. They listened to the Byrds, which are missing from this list. And you heard that. And college rock embraced it. And that's the type of music that suddenly a bunch of the college rock stations were listening to. These guys wanted to be punk rockers. That was their whole thing. We're going to be punk rockers. And they're in Athens, and they're trying to do that, and they're listening, but it's not working out. And they began to change. Because they're in Athens, there's the hippie kind of a resurgence going on there. B-52s, a variety of other bands, Pylon. And so they began to change their sound. This is what they came up with. And it was fantastic. And they made great album after great album after great album after great album. So REM, number 6. Number 5. And you know what? See, I keep looking. Yeah, I am at 5. Doing well. All right. So another group had something to say. Creedence Clearwater Revival. You know, was it four or five albums in 2 years? They had a lot to say. Very pissed off about what was going on in the 60s. And yeah, they said it. They put it out there. What they were thinking, you know, just think of Fortunate Son right there. Bam. That says it all. But they had so much great stuff on. You know, Susie Q, I Put a Spell on You, Proud Mary, Bad Moon Rising, I mean, Green River. I mean, bam, 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 bam. Yeah, I wasn't really into listening. I was very little in the 60s, so a lot of their music kind of bypassed me. But into the 70s, I began to listen to this. Are they a favorite group? Are they one I spin a lot? No, they're not. But this is a group, again, something important to say about what was happening, and which I truly loved. So we're going to give them number 5, which puts us to number 4, Iggy and the Stooges, or the Stooges. 3 albums of pure power, pure madness, pure energy. And no one bought it. But everyone knows it now because they began listening and following this. And how many punkers, you know, I mean, look at that. He looks like has a Ramone haircut right there. People listened and they wanted to be like the Stooges. People still want to be like the Stooges. It's not good for your health, though. Chances are you'll get arrested, you'll go insane, or whatever. But they made 3 extremely powerful albums of such excitement. You want to be your dog, one of my all-time favorite songs. I mean, it just it's an earworm song that won't escape my mind. I love it so much. Number 4 for the Stooges. Number 3. Sly the Family Stone. Columbia Record House, remember? Greatest hits, 13, check, 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 need the greatest hits. Didn't know anything about Sly the Family Stone. So here I am, it's 1974, I get this. I get my Columbia Record House. This comes in. And like Santana, I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The music was so incredible. And here we had an integrated group within the 60s, and which makes it even more special. Dance to the music, everyday people, stand, fun. Every song on here is great. And of course, then next came There's a Riot Going On and Fresh. Then Sly kind of went nuts, and still kind of out there, okay? Not kind of, he is out there. But when he was more of the right mind, the music he made was absolutely incredible. And this, to me, this is like a masterpiece. Just all the great stuff. Number 2, we talk about bands changing, getting better. I think no one did better than the Talking Heads. They took their music in every album, they changed it. When I bought that first album, or actually it was the second album I bought, More Songs About Buildings and Bricks. I loved it. I fell in love with this. It changed the course of my musical direction. What I listened to changed with the Talking Heads. And it began kind of starting with the college rock began happening then. But then the next album comes out and I go, what the hell is this? But then I loved it. Then they put out the next one. What the hell is this? And you know, huh? But I loved it. And their music, it just hasn't ever gotten old. It's still great. It's still fantastic. This album here is my favorite, Talking Heads, because it's so out there, and they bring in funk. The funk is so deep in this thing. I mean, it's like you're stepping in just a big pile of funk, and that's what you get off this thing. Burns' voices are just fantastic with it, but the rhythm section is phenomenal. One of my all-time absolute favorite groups because of the music they made, the Talking Heads at number 2. So, number 1, what is the best? There's only one it could be, the Velvet Underground. This group means more to me than any other group because just of the sounds that they made. There is beauty in their music. Lou Reed could write great songs. He could write catchy songs. He could write songs of beauty. Just nobody cared. Even Doug Yule was very good at that. But I mean, they did 4 albums, and then Doug Yule took over. Lou Reed left. The music's still good. But I didn't get into Velvet Underground till the 80s, till someone at a record store said, try this. And I was blown away from it. You know, this one has White Light, White Heat. Absolutely incredible. I Heard Her Call My Name. Great. 17 minutes. Sister Ray, Lionel Richie. I know you absolutely detest that song because they're, you know, they're waving their ding dongs, but it's so cool. It's just drone. John Cale brought in drone, and that drone's been used. You think of shoegaze, man. I hear John Cale all over the place. But this band has influenced so many other ones. No one gave a crap about them. Loved the fact that they were with Andy Warhol. That was phenomenal. But it was a band of absolute importance in rock. And that continues to change. Yet people continue to listen to take and say, I want to start a band. I want to do something. And this is one of those groups that does it all. So Velvet Underground, to me, is the greatest American rock band. And remember, this was the definitive list. So there we did it. Actually, I did that in really good speed. I tried to move along, but there's so many other great stuff, obviously, that we've missed. And a lot of the stuff from the 60s and 70s didn't resonate as much as to me as the 80s, when I really was deep into the music and find music that really meant a lot. I tried to put some of them in, but hey, whatever. My list. So thank you very much for that. I got a UK one going on because Lionel Richie put out already a UK one when I wasn't even done with this one. So I cursed him already for that, but it's pretty interesting. But I think it's harder than this. I mean, it's rough. So fun to do. If you haven't done it, give it a shot. It is a lot of fun to really look at these groups and think about them. Thanks, everyone. Have yourself a great week. And Thursday, got another record store tour. It's interesting. Bye.